Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Big Four podcast. My name is Luke Spring. I'm with the usual Brian and Andrew. How you guys doing tonight? Andrew, you can
Good.
speak first, and then I'll go to Brian. Brian, how you doing?
Brian, how are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Brian is either dying, has a sore throat from too many cigarettes, or was yelling at the Red Sox too much last night. It's a combination of three, probably. But as always, we are your number two source for all things sports. If you know, you know. Go follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Big4_podcast. I'm not sure if people can see comments or not on this. I don't think they can, but Brian just said yelling at Joe West, which is valid, and we'll probably get to that.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to save that for last, so we can go to football very quickly, because I want to get to the MLB, and I have a lot of things to say about the MLB. But we'll start with the NFL. Another week in the books, week 3. A lot of surprises. Actually, yeah, I guess we can say a lot of surprises. A lot of good games. Brian said he'll type his thoughts. Brian will be coming from with us from the comments, so we'll look forward to that. Brian is here with us physically, but audibly he is here with the comments. So interesting games. We can start with the Patriots because we are a Patriots first podcast. And I actually have things to say about the Patriots for once. And that is their offense is not as good as people were hyping it up to be. Understandable because no freaking way. That was kind of a saucy catch. But
no, Brian, it was not all on purpose.
It was all on purpose.
No, it wasn't. It was not. It was absolutely not, Brian. You got that one wrong, my friend.
The hype around Mac Jones, understandable. New young quarterback. After they're keeping everything back for 10. Well, hey, credit to my bud Brian. My bud Brian. I don't know if you guys know Brian, but he's on this show sometimes. Couldn't make it tonight, unfortunate. But he, a few weeks ago, or I think it was last week, actually, was just like, they're going to be confused when they go out on the field and see not San Antonio, New Orleans, because they're just going to be preparing for Tampa for 2 weeks. And that's basically essentially what he's saying right now. Mac has been great. When he gets good protection, he has been great. He has. The O-line was pretty bad. Mac did have, I will say, Mac's first interception was a little bit of a mistake. In that situation, you either have to take the sack or throw it away. Like, I haven't seen Mac throw it away a ton. I think that's something that I wouldn't say it's a skill, but it's something that quarterbacks need in their back pocket. Jonnu to the moon. Yes, that second interception was horrible, but that first interception wasn't great. He either needs to take that sack or throw it away, which will come with time. Like, he'll understand that that's what he needs to do in order to keep drives alive and keep them in the field position that they want, instead of throwing up a Hail Mary deep ball. Isaiah went to the moon
to the moon. Jesus.
What's his face? Dante Scarnecchia to the moon, if he's still even there kicking it with them at 95 years old or whatever the frick he was.
When for
MVP.
Yeah, it's going to be a process.
It's going to be a process. And again, I thought it was hyped up just a little bit too much. Again, understandable, new quarterback after having Brady for 20 years and Mac, who wasn't great last year. So I understand the hype. I think people are starting to come back down to earth with Mac and realizing he is still a rookie and he needs to figure things out. Like, it's not who's this Brady guy? Yeah, he's kind of a good quarterback. Kyler for MVP too, by the way. Now, I mean, Brady had a decent game, but Kyler for MVP is coming. He is the best rookie. Yes, he is the best rookie out of the class. Again, isn't really saying much because Trevor Lawrence sucks. Zach Wilson sucks. So there aren't a lot of good rookie quarterbacks. But yes, Mac is the best out of them. I talked a lot about the Pats. I normally don't do that. But Andrew, what were your feelings after this game?
O-line struggled for sure. I feel like the defense played very well. Offense put the defense in some pretty tough positions. But overall, the defense did play pretty well.
And it will. It's
I really don't. Yeah, the Saints the Saints defense is really good. Their pass rush was pretty good. I don't really have a lot to say about this game. I kind of just want to forget about it. Um, there were much better games this week that I'd much rather talk to. Yes, that is what she said, Brian. Love to see it. I love those jokes. But there isn't a whole lot to speak about this game for me, simply because I just don't want to talk about it.
Hey, the the bright side is the Pats have the same record as the Kansas City Chiefs, baby, and they were a top 2 Super Bowl contender coming into this year. So, by the transitive property, Pats are a top 2 Super Bowl contender, baby. Let's go, Pats to the Super Bowl. We can talk about this game now since we're transitioning to. Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, so Chargers Chiefs. There should be some extreme concerns in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, 27 of 44. Not good. Only 260 yards. That's not good either. 3 touchdowns is okay. The 2 picks he had were extremely careless.
The first one was a little unlucky. Like, you gotta have that receiver, whoever it was, had.
Yeah. The second one was pretty bad. So obviously, last podcast I was talking about.
I thought it was 2 ago.
It could have been.
Like, I think it was before the season started.
No, I was talking about the Chiefs last week.
Oh, okay.
About how they could not get the 1 seed and also be out in the divisional round. I'm gonna step up that take for years to come. And I'm going to say the dynasty in Kansas City is over. And
I think you want to look too far with that.
No, I don't think so. It's been proven in the past that when you overpay on a quarterback, I don't care who it is, when you pay him, when he is whoever is the highest paid quarterback in the league, the team struggles. I mean, when you look at the cap hit with Mahomes' contract for the Chiefs in the next few years, this year it's only about $7 million. But then in the next 3 years, it increases all the way up to $46 million cap hit. That's going to be a tough maneuver for the Chiefs. And I mean, when you look down the list of who the highest paid quarterback is in the league every single year, no championships come out of it. I mean, you got guys like Patrick Mahomes last year who didn't win. You got guys like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, even, and Andrew Luck. They never won anything. So paying a quarterback that much money really sets your team up for failure. I mean, you look at the ultimate winner in football, Tom Brady. He's made roughly $20 to $25 million every single time, every single year of his prime. He's still in his prime. He's making $25 million, which sets up the team for success because you can grab more guys. I mean, you see the Buccaneers this year who brought back all 22 starters, and they all take after Brady simply because he wins and people want to play with him because he takes pay cuts and you can have extra talent around him. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Kansas City dynasty is coming to an end.
So I agree with you to an extent. I agree with you in the money part. I still think Patrick Mahomes is, in my opinion, he's still the most talented quarterback in the NFL. I think they just mismanaged their money elsewhere. Like giving Kelsey that amount of money, that was, in my opinion, unnecessary. If he wants to make that money somewhere else, fine. But he probably won't be the same tight end with any other quarterback. Patrick Mahomes could make another tight end into, I don't want to say the next Travis Kelce, but he can manage with another tight end. They did not need to spend more money on a tight end when they have 2 to 3 elite wide receivers, and obviously Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman is a speed demon, and then whoever they have run. Like, basically, Mahomes is good enough to make receiver. Like, he's like Brady in that way, where he can make nobody receivers into things. Like, like I said, McCole Hardman. You think McCole Hardman would be anything on any other team? Probably not if he's not with Mahomes or Brady. Tyreek Hill's just Tyreek Hill. I think they should have put that Travis Kelce money towards getting defense because
their
their defense is
trash.
horrific. Like
Their run defense
29 against the Browns,
ridiculously
36
bad.
against the Ravens, and 30 against the Chargers. Like you can't. I don't care who you are. That's extremely hard to win games when your defense is letting up that many points. Like Brady has the benefit of being good, having good weapons, but also has probably arguably the best defense in the league. I mean, obviously they have kind of struggled a little bit. They struggled against the Rams.
Their secondary is bad.
But it's still a better defense than the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs have a bottom 3 defense. I do agree with you, Brian. The Bucs defense is overrated.
And it's because of injuries, and like that kind of sucks for them. I still think that they have a top 10, like they're in the upper 50% of defenses. The Chiefs are 100% or definitely in the below 50% in the league in terms of defense. So Brady has that benefit. Mahomes doesn't, and it shows. Like that money that they gave to Kelce should not have given up the most points in the league. There you go. So probably the worst defense behind, I don't know, like Atlanta. Even Atlanta isn't horrible. They held the Giants check. Not saying anything. But yeah, that Travis Kelce money should have been used elsewhere to fill other team needs because their offense was already good enough. If you bring in I guess a replacement tight end, like an average tight end, then their offense is still going to be good enough to win games. It was all about their defense, and it still is all about their defense and whether or not they can stop people, and that has proved to not be the case. So I agree that Mahomes is making a lot of money, but you pay that money to keep him, but you don't need to pay that money to keep Travis Kelce. Like Mahomes is the guy. He's the one you build around. You don't have to give that money to Travis Kelce. You give it elsewhere. Chiefs have only given up 7 more points than Tampa. That's interesting.
It is interesting. I do think that the Tampa defense is a little bit overrated simply because their pass defense is one of the worst, probably a bottom 5 pass defense up there with Kansas City. I mean, it's horrendous. It really is.
It is. And even if we go down the road of the Bucs, right? If we go down that road, the Bucs could very well be 1-2. Like they could have lost that season opener to Dallas. So both the Bucs and the Chiefs could be in the exact same position because their defenses have not been what they need them to be. So I think both teams are in a very similar situation. Obviously, the Chiefs are in a little bit of a different situation because they're 1-2 and they have that money. Like they don't have the guys, but the Bucs do have the guys. So I think they'll figure it out. The Chiefs don't. So I think that they need to either trade for people or I don't know what their fix is, but the Bucs have the guys. They need to figure it out. The Chiefs don't have the guys and they still need to figure it out. So that's the only difference I see between the two teams right now.
I was just gonna go straight into the Rams Bucs game because we were talking a little bit about that Buccaneers defense who let up 34 points against the Rams. I mean, the pass defense, like we were saying earlier, was pretty bad. I mean, Deshaun Watson 3 catches, 120 yards. You got Cooper Kupp 9 catches, 96 yards. Yeah, I mean, it was not good at all. I mean, they got down super early. Not super early, but I mean, I believe that 4 straight drives or something, the Rams had 28 points, which is ridiculously impressive. I think that the Buccaneers are just, I don't know. This season is weird because everyone seems to be a little bit overrated.
Yeah. Hey man, the Rams are legit. The Rams are legit.
Yeah,
and
they are legit.
And I like my prediction. I'm gonna stick with it because it seems pretty good. Is that the Rams have that potential to get the 2 seed? I still think the Bucs are talented enough and should get that 1 seed. Like they're 2-1, and the Lions. I said Lions because of Stafford. The Rams are 3-0. That's not a big difference at all. So the Bucs realistically should, and they're going to get a win next week by a lot. I am going to predict against the Patriots, but the Bucs will be fine. I think they'll get that 1 seed. And the Rams will be right behind them, though. The Rams are a very, very good football team. They're well-rounded. Like, they have the defense, they have the offense. They're just a well-rounded football team, and they'll be right with the Bucs the whole time. I think the Bucs again will squeak out that 1 seed, but again, the Rams will be right there, and that could very well be the NFC Championship matchup. And I would not be upset if it was, because even though that wasn't a great game and people were forecasting it to be a great game, I feel like if they meet in the playoffs, that could be a very, very good game. If that ends up being the NFC Championship game. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So I think that I do think that the Buccaneers are still the best team in the NFC, but I wouldn't be surprised when I believe it's not if it's a wet playoffs in what I think would be the NFC Championship game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams won. You've seen it over the past 2 years. They match up really well against Tampa Bay. So I wouldn't put it past the Rams. As of right now, obviously it's still super early. It's only past week 3 that we could possibly see the Los Angeles Rams back in the Super Bowl.
I agree. And they really have the one thing that Brady hates, and that's a pass rush. Like, the pass rush is their biggest thing in their defense. And if you get to Brady quick enough, he doesn't have the speed or the elusiveness to get out of the pocket. I don't know how many sacks they had, but that's something that even if they didn't have sacks, like, he feels that pressure with the Rams defense. Like, you can't not feel that pressure. They had 3 sacks allowed, so that's not horrible.
3 sacks.
That's not horrible. But it's also like you have to factor in the non-counting stats and say, like, how many times he was forced to throw some balls that he didn't want to throw because of the pressure.
So
he did have a good game yards wise still, but that defense is super good, and they have the thing that Brady doesn't like, and that's pressure.
Yeah. So, and then obviously I would say that the strength of the Buccaneers offense is probably the receiving core. I mean, it's super strong across the board. You got Evans, Godwin, Brown, and then you have also Gronk and Cameron Brate. So that's 5 really strong weapons. But one weapon that is really, really useful for the Rams is obviously Jaylen Ramsey. And he can shadow someone, or he can maybe he just stays to one side. But whoever is being covered by Jaylen Ramsey, they're taken out of the play because he is such an X factor on that defense, in the pass defense. And also he's really good at coming up and making plays on some run plays.
Yeah. And that was what was key about Antonio
he's
Brown.
A huge X factor for that team. So
yeah, I was just going to say that was what was huge about Antonio Brown being out last game. Was you take away one weapon because of injury, and then you take another one away because you're playing Jaylen Ramsey. So Brady was down basically 2 weapons that he normally has because of injury and because of who they're playing. So that was really key. Like, if Antonio Brown is there, I'm not sure if the outcome changes, but he probably makes it a closer game. And we sit here saying how awesome of a game it was, even though it was only a 10-point game. It was really Rams the entire time. But if Antonio Brown's there, he might make a difference. So we'll see what happens if he's healthy and if they play each other, which, I will probably forecast they play each other in the NFC Championship game. We'll see if he's healthy and if he makes a difference. All right. Other games, Jets should disband as a franchise. That's done with the Broncos-Jets game.
Yes, for sure.
The Raiders game was interesting and went up to overtime.
The Raiders.
Go ahead.
The Raiders have to be probably the biggest surprise for me. I mean, I forget. Let me pull up the picture I took of my fancy whiteboard that I had over the summer. I want to see how many wins I had them at, just to make myself cry for a little bit.
6 or 7.
I had 5,
Oh,
and they're
5.
3-0.
They
I
have
had
3
the Las
already.
Vegas Raiders at 5-12, and they're 3-0. So,
That's rough.
um, but I'm glad that they're doing much better than I thought. Simply because I I can't root against them. It's the Raiders. Um, they have been the biggest surprise in my opinion. Um, Simply because of who they've played. I mean, obviously you have the Broncos and the Panthers that are both 3-0, but their competition has been far worse than the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders have won all 3 wins have been against teams with 10 plus wins last year. The Steelers, the Ravens, and then who else did they play? I'm blanking. I
Who have
can't
they
remember.
played? They just played the. Who'd you say? The Ravens, the
The Ravens, the
Dolphins.
Steelers, and the
They just played
Dolphins.
the
Yeah, they
Dolphins.
just played the Dolphins. So that's super impressive. Derek Carr also leads the league in pass yards. The defense has been legit. Um, so overall, I think the Raiders can. I mean, obviously, with the Chiefs struggling, the Chiefs are in last in the AFC
Yeah,
West,
that is kind of crazy.
which
I
is
mean, because
weird.
the Rams are real, or not the Rams, the other LA team, the Chargers. They're
Yeah, the
legit.
Chargers. Yeah, the Chargers. They are
They're a
what,
legit
2-1?
team. Two. I think everyone might be 2-1 except for the Chiefs. Oh well,
No,
3-2. Actually,
the
no, 3-0,
Broncos are
3-0.
3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good. Well, okay. The Broncos are 3-0, but they played the 2 New York teams
Yeah.
and the Jaguars, so
Yeah.
that doesn't really count
Yeah.
at
Yeah. That
all.
schedule is Angels food cake. So
I don't know who put that together, but man, you must be
yeah.
loving life if you're a Denver.
I mean, yeah, whoever made the schedule must really like the Broncos because they I guess they want them to get off to a hot start,
Oh,
maybe
bro.
gather some momentum.
But another surprise team, because you just mentioned that the Raiders are a surprise team, and that is true. The Bengals are 2-1, and they
I
handled the
know.
Steelers. They
Yeah.
handled
So
them.
I'm more I'm less pro Bengals
No, yeah,
and
yep.
more anti Steelers because the Steelers they have the worst offense in the National Football
Yeah, I
League.
don't.
Ben
Well, the Jets, but
Roethlisberger,
yeah,
no, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, I will say this: their defense is okay. T.J. Watt not being out was pretty big. Um, so I mean, the Steelers are just really bad. Ben Roethlisberger needs to retire and go into a retirement home ASAP.
Roman
Um,
House.
yeah, I will serve you dinner. Because he does not belong on a football field. Um, it's just it's awesome to see them struggling. Um, I don't want it to stop, but it's also just kind of embarrassing for the Steelers. So at some point, you just like you got to change something.
Yeah, it's never really a good thing when your running back has 14 receptions. So that just means that
Yeah.
Big Ben he just doesn't have it. So he needs to dump it off to Najee Harris every time. 14 receptions for a running back. That's great. Like Christian McCaffrey doesn't even get 14 receptions in the game.
Oh,
That's ridiculous.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
yeah,
pretty incredible.
the Bengals after last week, Joe Burrow did not look great against the Bears. They
He had
still
a great
almost
comeback game.
he did. They almost won, but he had a very good game. Jamar Chase is legit too.
Oh
That man
yeah,
is on my fantasy team, and I'm so happy I picked him because
yeah,
he has 4 touchdowns in 3 games. I'm beaming about that.
yeah. He I think it was Randy Moss who had, I think he had like 3 touchdowns through 3 games in his rookie season. That was the
Yeah,
most. And Jamar Chase broke that by a touchdown. He's
yeah,
been super impressive. Joe Burrow's deep
has
ball has been really impressive as well.
has.
They just have a really good connection. And I mean,
I wonder why.
obviously, yeah. I mean, obviously, you go back to the draft. You say to yourself, "Oh, it's obvious they should take Penei Sewell," but I mean, it's working out for them. They're 2-1. I mean, they're on pace to probably break their record last year in probably like week 5. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's clearly working. Their offense is good. I mean, obviously their defense looked pretty good against the Steelers offense. Again, it's probably the worst in the league. Um, But I mean, we'll have to see. It's still
Yeah.
early. I keep saying it's still early, obviously. But they've been impressive.
They have been. Last thing before we go to your questions, because we have some questions from Q. We have Q's.
Excuse.
The Justin Tucker field goal. That was freaking
Wow.
nutty.
That was
66 off the crossbar. I thought off the foot, I was just like, I saw the lineman as soon as up in the air, the linemen were like putting their hands up. I was like, did he really just drill this? Like, not just make it, like drill it, and then it hit the crossbar. I was like, bruh, and then it spun in. Like, how many times has a ball hit the crossbar and then spun back in and not hit out? Like, that was the luckiest field goal of all time.
Yeah.
But rip Lions fans, man. The Lions can't get a break.
Yeah. They've played 3 solid.
They have
2.5 solid games
against decent teams too. Like the Ravens are not as bad as like people would have thought coming into the year. And then what was the other San?
The Packers.
Game? Yeah. Oh, the Packers and the San Fran game.
Yeah. I mean, the Packers, they were beating the Packers at half 17-4. Obviously, the second half didn't pan out. That's why I said they played two games worth of good games. They played a full good game against the Ravens. They played the first half of the Packers game really well, and they played the second half against the Niners game really well. So I mean, I don't even know if this is like a good thing to say or not. They're the best 3-0 team or 0-3 team in the NFL.
Yeah,
they just can't catch a break. They are the best of the worst.
Let's go.
The best of the worst award goes to the Detroit Lions.
Let's go. I'd be pumped to have that award. It's a pretty snazzy award. All right. Q's.
Okay. So kind of talked about a few of them, as one of them was about the Chiefs and the Raiders and the Rams. But so this is for every single sport. It can be whatever you want. We're going to be doing this weekly now. My new segment, the Big Four Player of the Week. We did it earlier. I'm bringing it back. We're going to be doing this weekly. It can be from any sport. And there has to be one guy that really stood out to you. Luke.
Can I go first?
Here you go.
You know who I'm going to pick, Brian?
You're going to pick Giancarlo Stanton.
You know I have to pick. You know who it has to be? It has to be Giancarlo Stanton. And we'll get to it. But I hate saying it.
He has been. He had an impressive series.
It has to be. He had a home run in every game of the series.
10 RBIs.
10 RBIs.
Yeah.
And each one of those home runs basically won the game for them. So as much as it pains me to say it, my Big Four, my first ever Big Four Player of the Week is Giancarlo Stanton against the Red Sox. Brian quits.
Brian quits. Brian, please type in the chat.
Yeah, type in the chat.
Brian, please type in the chat. Or if you can get it out quickly, we can just go with you. Who are you thinking about, Brian? He's got his thinking cap on.
It has to be Stanton. I'm sorry, but it has to be. He freaking pooped on some of those balls. Like, you can't convince me that ball was 452. That was 552.
Yeah.
652.
It's Jonnu Smith's hands. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at it from the Saints' perspective, I guess so.
So I'm gonna go a little unorthodox. Luke, you probably didn't think about this at all. Brian, you'll like this one. The Big Four Player of the Week is Dustin Johnson. 5-0-0 in the Ryder Cup. I mean, he was impressive. I mean, him and Morikawa were electric together. And then he was also great with Schauffele. I mean, so I'm going to say this for everyone to hear. USA, love to see it. The Ryder Cup, other than the Super Bowl and March Madness, is the best event in sports.
Even better than the Masters?
Yeah, it's better than the Masters. It goes Super Bowl, March Madness, Ryder Cup. Oh, let's Brian, what's your rankings? Super Bowl, Masters, March Madness, Ryder Cup, World Series. Jordo, USA, 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 USA.
Yeah, that was before. That was before. I live for the Masters.
I do live for the Masters. The Masters is great, a tradition like any other. But I just think that the Ryder Cup is just so much more electric. It's so awesome to watch, especially when the US comes on top. The best team in Ryder Cup history was put together this weekend by Captain Steve Stricker. Yeah, the US has sucked pretty recently, but the rookies were incredible this week. But overall, the big four player of the week for Andrew himself is Dustin Johnson.
All right. Brian, do you have a legit one, or are we still going with John?
Yeah, we're still going with Johnny Smith's hands.
Let's see.
Let's see what he's got.
Ripper Magoo,
Tony Finau. Okay. I mean, he did lose. So
that was a joke.
Yeah, I hope so. But yeah,
Brian's is Janu's hands, unless he
got one.
The point.
He's got one.
He gave the point.
Oh,
Joe West. Okay, we'll get to it. We have some more questions. We have some more cues, but we'll get to it. Let's continue with the cues.
We kind of did go over this. I mean, I talked a little bit about it, but I do want to hear some opinions from the rest of the room. Luke, are the Chiefs in trouble?
Again, yeah, we already talked about this. I think so. And I'm going to just go back to what I've been saying is that money that's spent on Travis Kelce should have been spent on the defense. Like, this defense has issues. And what's more alarming is that they knew that this defense had issues because it's never been a great defense, and they still decided to ignore it. That's the concerning part. I don't really hope because I don't really care about the Chiefs, but if I was a Chiefs fan, I would hope that is the number one priority this offseason, and all the money they have, all the space that they have is devoted to defense because their offense is fine. It does not need any more help. Defense, draft defense, free agency defense. Everything needs to be about defense this offseason, and then we can talk about the Chiefs. But for right now, I think, yes, they are in massive trouble.
Yeah, and then I heard Brian say yes.
Yes, bums, losers.
He's got another one. The curse of Jackson Mahomes.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny though.
Can't physically assault someone and get away with it, Mahomes.
Yeah. So, next question. I talked about how they have been the biggest surprise so far this year. The Las Vegas Raiders. Luke, are they? They have been a big surprise, but are they legit?
No, I don't think so. I think they might have a chance to sneak in at like the 7th seed or something. Pick 6 Cowboys. Let's go. Trayvon Diggs, babe. Freaking Nick. I wish he was here so I could yell at him. The first episode, he was like, "Oh, name some DBs on the Cowboys," and I said, Trayvon Diggs," and he laughed in my face. 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. Get the frick off of me. Anyways, Vegas, I don't think they're legit. I think they have a chance to squeak into a playoff spot, but I don't think they'll make much noise. I just don't like their offense still. Derek Carr is good, and he's doing well with the weapons he has, but the weapons he has is basically Darren Waller, and it's kind of easy to game plan when you really have to cover one guy. Henry Ruggs is having a decent season, but he's not really shown that he's taken that next step yet. And the defense is fine. Like, they're an overall average team. I think they've started off to a good start. Yeah, I know. Give it some time.
He's struggling.
Give it some. But I think overall the Raiders are an average team. They've gotten off to a hot start. I think they'll flatten out, maybe get a playoff spot. Yeah, they're not that legit.
Yeah, so I agree with you. Just looking through their schedule, I mean, they play the NFC East, which is 2 guaranteed wins against the Giants and the Eagles. They also play the Bears for that extra 17th bonus game. And then they also play the AFC North. So they've beaten Baltimore. But I mean, you also got Cincinnati, who has shown some promise. And then they beat the Steelers, and then you still got the Browns. So I'm just looking through their schedule. I see about 8 or 9 wins.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. And that might get them into a playoff spot again, that last one. But they're not going to do anything in it. So yeah, they're good right now, but I don't know, not legit. You have any more, or is that it? Q's.
That's it for Q's for
That's it for
today.
Q's.
I'll snag some more next time. I do want to say one more thing about the NFL, and it is my Super Bowl champions making a little bit of a revival through weeks 2 and 3. The Buffalo Bills put up 43 points. Josh Allen, the top fantasy scorer at the quarterback position. He looked really good. Threw for 4 touchdowns, threw for 350 yards. Cole Beasley, we were talking about him. 11 catches, 98 yards. That's what you love to see from a nice number 2 receiver. He did lead the team in yards, receiving yards for Sunday. I believe Stephon Diggs did have a touchdown, but hey, my Super Bowl Bills, little revival after the disappointing week 1 loss.
Looking good. And against a good defense too.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for the NFL. Let's take a deep breath before we get into this.
Mr. West.
Let's take a deep breath. Everyone in on 3. 1, 2, 3. And out. When I say this, I'm not exaggerating. I think 90% of the people in the dining hall I was in last night thought I belonged to a mental asylum because of how loud and obnoxious I was. And I tweeted it. I don't think I've been more upset in my entire life. Or I don't think I said that. I think I said I can't remember a time that I've been this upset. This series aggravated me to no end. And it was just throughout. I had no, I was confused on what emotions. Brian and I we were talking after the game. Brian was just like, I think I might just go cry now because I'm confused about what emotions to feel. I was the same way. I just didn't know what to feel. That was the angriest, the most I've been a loss for words in a while. Brian just said death. I felt cheated. Yeah, I did too. And just that's what made it worse, is that I felt cheated. Going into the series, biggest series of the season, biggest series of the year since probably 2018, because 2019 they were not good. 2020 was a joke. So this is probably the biggest series since the World Series, honestly. Probably the biggest series since the World Series. And the Red Sox wet the bed. They wet the bed. It was very pathetic and very aggravating to watch.
Joe West did not help, though.
Joe West.
That was one of the worst calls I've probably seen. And I hate that. So I believe that the ruling was that you can't overturn a call like that. I'm pretty sure sets us perfectly. Oh, correct. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I was speaking the truth. So, I mean, it just really makes me mad about, there's so much gray area about what you can review and what you can't. It just makes me mad thinking about how some things, obviously if you want to review balls and strikes that no swing, balls and strikes, if you try to review that, I mean, you're going to be there all night. So there has to be some error with the umpire, but stuff like that is just, it's just annoying. I mean, the rule has been applied to every other position when you catch it and then on the transfer it falls out. And you can review that at second base, correct? If there's a double play ball.
I think so. That's a good question. It's a good question. Can you review on the transfer at second base if it's like a double play and you catch it on the transfer? If they
believe so. So if that's true, the rule isn't the same for every single situation where the transfer comes into play.
They actually look for it
They
there.
should
Yeah.
look for it. Yeah. So that just makes me mad. But I feel like if you can review that, you should be able to review a different transfer call. So obviously they do look for it more. Yeah, he legit caught the ball. Like I feel like even looking at it first glance, there was no question that he caught the ball because you could clearly see his hand go straight into his glove, and then after his hand gets there, the ball falls out.
Yeah.
It's like his right hand was the reason the ball fell.
Mm-hmm. I also hate Vasquez. Yeah, Vasquez is having a rough year. Weck should be starting every game. I also extremely dislike how Sunday Night Baseball is just an extension of the Yes Network, because after Judge hit that double, Vasquez, and this is going to be a loose translation, but he basically was just like, after all the Red Sox screw ups, Aaron Judge finally gets a double. Like he was going nuts, like to no end. And then obviously the Stanton home run, he was like, like I don't even know how to imitate it because he was just going so bonkers that you would have thought that it was the Yes Network. It just makes me mad that they have those guys in the booth, especially A-Rod, who like they shouldn't be allowed to do Red Sox Yankees. Fine if you want to do Mariners and Cubs on a random in the
Andrews Mariners.
Andrews M's, who are not gonna make the playoffs. But if you do that, that's fine. A-Rod in the studio for Fox is fine. He's fine. You can't do Red Sox Yankees. You can't. It's just not fair. It feels like a home game for the Red Sox or for the Yankees every single time. But as a caller, he might be the worst ever. Yeah. He also like, I'm not sure if they didn't know what they were talking about half the time. Like, I don't understand what was it? Oh, the Tyler Wade caught stealing, the first one. They said that Jose Iglesias told him that it was a walk and that's why. Like, there's no way that that's true. And if that was true, then Tyler Wade would have made a bigger deal about that. Like, he would have gotten up. He would have gotten mad at Jose Iglesias. He would have gone to the ump. Like, he just got up and was just like, I just effed that up. Like, there's no way that Jose Iglesias would have said, oh, it's a walk. And then he just starts to, like, come out of his slide. Like, no, that's not what happened at all. So, yeah, that was frustrating. Like, this whole weekend was just so not what I wanted it to be. And Stanton is just unbelievable and unbelievably annoying. All of a sudden, because all year he's been horrible. A-Rod was like, I wonder if Boone asked the umpire if Holmes needs to face three guys. Yeah. Yeah, like what? That doesn't even make any sense. But that's the other thing is like Stanton all year against the Sox has not been good at all. Against E-Rod has not been well. He didn't do anything off E-Rod. It was against the bullpen guys. But I just don't understand. And it goes back to the freaking walks. You can't walk Brett Gardner to then get to Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. You can't. It's Brett freaking Gardner. He hits like 210 for his career.
222, I believe.
222 this year. Whatever. He's a horrible baseball player. He's not average. He is well below average. You can't walk him. I don't get why they walk him. And then they throw 94 middle to some of the best baseball players on planet Earth. Throw middle to Brett Gardner and work around Judge and Stanton. That's what you do. You don't do the opposite and walk Brett Gardner and go middle to Stanton and Judge. You go middle to Gardner and work around Judge and Stanton. I don't understand the game plan. I didn't get anything about that. And then just offensively, the Red Sox just didn't show up. They just decided they didn't want to play baseball. Like the best offensive player in the series was probably Kevin Plawecki, and he played one game. He was the best offensive player in the series. Played one game, went 2 for 2.
The Weck dog is the GOAT, so I mean it makes sense.
But like no one showed up.
Yeah, it was a tough series. But
0 extra base hits in game 3. I can't the only one game 1 was the Devers home run, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember. And then the Plawecki home run, like they might have had 2 extra base hits all series. They might.
Yeah.
That's
But
pathetic.
I mean, they're set up to host um the wild card game at Fenway.
I don't
I
know. And
mean,
I went over this with Brian, and I don't know anymore because even if the Red Sox win out, the Yankees can still win out. And if both teams win out, the Yankees would have home field. The Yankees have a series against the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are a tough team, but they're also a super weird team. They can be really, really good or really, really bad. Like they just split with the Twins, who are a horrible baseball team. If the Yankees sweep the Blue Jays, they will get to play a AA baseball team because the Rays will have the number 1 seed and won't play anyone. So I'm actually very concerned about this Yankees Blue Jays series. Like this has to be first of all, the Red Sox have to sweep the Orioles and the Nationals. Like that's a must. They have to do that. That's the first thing. The second thing is the Blue Jays have to win at least one of those games. And I'm not sure if they're capable of doing it. Brian just put out the pitching matchups, Ryu, Ray, and Barrios. That's a good.
They can win with Ray.
3. They can win with Ray. Ryu has not been that good this season. He throws meat,
he's bad.
The Yankees hit meat, and then Barrios has been on and off. He's still a good pitcher. So the Blue Jays have to win one of those, or preferably 2, preferably all 3.
Yeah, obviously.
Preferably all 3.
Yeah, huge Blue Jays guy.
They have to at least win one of those games, and the Red Sox cannot like we talk about this weekend being must win. These Orioles and National games are must win. There is no dancing around the Orioles. There's no dancing around the Nationals. They cannot lose these baseball games, and if they do, they're effed. If they do, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. They don't deserve it. If they lose a single game to the Orioles and the Nationals, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. So if they lose, I'll be like, okay, fine. This team wasn't deserving of being in the playoffs. But if they win these games, then I still don't feel great. But hey, at least they got a playoff spot, and I'll be in the Bean Town on Tuesday night, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, they should win. I mean,
they should. They have to. They absolutely.
They absolutely have to.
And then Brian just put up the sale of Aldi Pavetta for the Orioles series, which, to be honest, I kind of wish that was the rotation, because Sale will probably pitch one against the Nationals, right? Will he? He should. But I wish that was the rotation for the National series more than the Orioles, because the Nationals just have Juan Soto, and him alone scares me more than anyone the Orioles have. So he better walk every at bat, or else there's an issue.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about it, the way that it pans out. So if you go Sale of Eovaldi Piv, is that the order?
Yep.
Okay. So if you go Sale of Eovaldi Piv, then do you go
Erod Sale of Eovaldi
for the
I think
national? Yeah.
What?
Erod, or do you throw Piv in, have Eovaldi throw in the wild card game? Because you don't want to have, because if you have
Brian's
Sale, you can only have one of Sale and Eovaldi throw in the national series. So you gotta leave that to one you have, because you got to leave one of them. Well, you're not even talking. I can talk. You have to leave one of them available for the wild card game, because you don't want to be throwing Piv game 1.
And I think that assuming that it's the Yankees, I think Saturday determined that it's going to be Sale. Like, Eovaldi had a horrible game, and Brian just said if the Sox go 4-0 going into Saturday night and the Yankees lose 2 of 4 to Toronto or Tampa, Saturday is the clincher. And he's got some more cooking. But back to my point is that Saturday, or no, was it Friday or Saturday? I think it was Friday. Never mind. So Friday, that Friday night game, I think tells you who your wild card starter should be, and that's Chris Sale. Like, Eovaldi, yes, he's been good against the Yankees. Yes, he's been good at home. But that start was horrendous. So after that, I would be much more comfortable with Sale. This will this will determine the pitching matchups. If that's the case, Sale won't pitch on the weekend. Same with Nate. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. If Saturday's the clincher, then there's no reason to. They will be able to make a decision on Tuesday. Yep, that is all true. Like, there's no reason to pitch those guys if it's already a done deal.
Yeah, hopefully they can have one game. I mean, if they clinch like one, it depends on obviously what the Yankees do, but if they clinch anywhere in the National Series, then you just obviously just pull them out. And then, I mean, if you have 2 games left, or if you have 1 game left, I don't know exactly what you do. I don't know, because Erod wouldn't be able to pitch twice in the series. You could throw Piv 1 game. You would probably just
do a random bullpen game, like something.
But you also don't want to be throwing a ton of bullpen guys so that they can be ready for the wild card. So it's kind of can you just like forfeit the game?
You get Marwin back from the Astros and throw him. He'll be fine.
Throw Bob.
Or you rent. Yeah, Bob can pitch.
Bob's played every other position, so just
Bob can pitch because he won't be on the team next year.
No, keep Bob.
He can't.
No, but I don't like Schwarber at first. I really don't.
Cassis, dude's a beast. That guy is gonna be basic.
I don't know. I would much rather have
AAA,
Bob.
I don't know if he's that good. Sorry then. Bob won't be on the team in 2023. Bob isn't going to be. Unfortunately, I don't think Bob is in the long-term plans.
I love Bob.
I like Bob too. Bob is a starting. Again, they have what? So does that mean no JD? Yeah, shake yes. Head.
Well, it says starting third base. So does that mean no Devers?
No, that means Devers DH. So then where does JD go? Because then Schwarber's going to be left. We won't re-sign JD. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that actually makes sense because Devers kind of sucks defensively.
Yeah, he does. Him and Bogarts, I think, rank in the bottom 10 and outs above average in baseball. Trade Downs. Downs needs to figure the frick out if they want to trade him. He needs to. Well, yeah, Nick York is a beast. He's going to be up in next year. Maybe in the playoffs. I'm kidding. But Jeter Downs needs to figure the frick out if they want to trade him, because that guy has 0 trade value. And I'm exaggerating because he's still young and could be good, but that guy's trade value has decreased significantly over this. He does have good pop, but again, he's been god awful this year. He actually hasn't been horrible this past. And I guess he needs to work on the average, but people don't even care about average anymore. I think it's the strikeouts. I think he strikes out a lot. But yeah, he needs to figure it out, because I think that he could be a really good trade piece, and that trade needs to be for a starting pitcher. Like that's just simple. It needs to be for a starting pitcher. There's no one that you can bring in to better this lineup realistically, unless you go get Mike Trout. Like, that's it. And you're not going to get Mike Trout. So all the moves that happen in the offseason and next year via trade, it has to be for pitching. And then Brian says, also listen to this. I'm listening.
So I have a question though.
Yes,
like real quick. So what would the outfield look like next year?
Schwarber in left. Kike has to be in center and Renfroe in right. That's the other thing.
But then what do you do with Verdugo?
Verdugo is the hottest hitter on the freaking planet.
So I guess you have to play. Well, you have to put Verdugo in the outfield then, and then if you put
Kike at second, but I
don't. Well, it either has to be field. No, I think Kike should be the second, the center fielder. Yeah. I feel like this all kind of revolves around if JD, when is JD's contract up? In 2 years? I think he has a player option next year that he'll pick up for the ridiculous amount of money it is. And then he's a free agent after next season. Okay. So next year is kind of like a
2023 free agent. Yeah.
I mean, they got 4 outfielders, which is really tough. But I feel like if they let JD go and they still have the rest of the guys, I mean, I feel like, I mean, I love Renfro and Wright if they resign him. I feel like they should because he's been an absolute beast this year. What is he, 29, I believe?
I don't know.
Durant, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
like Durant in
I
center. I really
completely
don't
forgot
like
about
Durant in
Durant.
center.
I like Durant. He's Jacoby Ellsbury.
I don't like his arm.
Schwarber at first, then Brian, and then Dahlbeck at third.
I don't like Durant.
Devers.
I would rather have Kike than Durant.
Schwarber first DH. And then Dahlbeck.
You got too many guys, which is a good problem.
I guess it's a good problem, but they need to figure out what they're gonna do with them. And
yeah,
I think
because
that
you don't want
is trading them, and they need to figure out for who.
Yeah, because you don't want guys playing. I mean, assuming you probably have 6 games a week, you don't want guys only playing like 3 games because I mean, some guys like won't be able to really get in the groove if they're only playing 3 games a week.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to figure out like who's hot, who's not, and you really have to put them in a position it has to be perfect if you have like 11 guys that can play and can start. So you really just have to pick your lineups really, really perfectly if you're Alex Cora. So it's going to be a tough job for him. But on the other hand, I feel like with the incredible offense that they have, it's not very difficult, but it can be difficult to go wrong.
Yeah. I'm glad we talked about that because if we talked more about this weekend, I probably would have punched my computer.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're talking about the future because the present Red Sox are very frustrating to watch.
Future. So they have a good amount of money to spend, correct?
I mean,
this offseason.
Red Sox. They're the freaking Red Sox. They
so
should.
Are there any like key pitchers going up in free agency this year?
No, but I think the one after is good. Like
okay.
I think the 2023 is like a really, really good.
Okay. They gotta spend.
Oh, that's who I meant.
Rodon.
2023. 2023 is Jacob DeGrom.
Wow.
Jacob DeGrom's in 2023.
Okay, so just snag DeGrom, Scherzer,
and
Rodon.
Yep. Yeah. Plan.
And then Sale for Evaldi 5.
Sale would be like the 3. He's better than Rodon.
Yeah, that's true. But Rodon is a 4 and Evaldi is a 5.
Yeah.
Dude.
Okay, we're gonna have
120 games. 120 wins, dude.
Erod lol. Yeah, Erod's not coming back. He just pitched his last
game. No, get out of here. I don't want.
He just pitched. That's actually kind of sad to think about. Like Erod probably just pitched his last game in Boston, unless he gets a Boston game for the ALDS if they make it there. But yeah, rip Erod. You were solid. World Series winner. Thanks, Erod. He's been here since 15 or something ridiculous like that. Like I think he. Well, I was gonna say he might be the longest tenured, but it's definitely Bogarts. But he might be the second. He might be the second longest tenured Red Sox, and 2015 was when he first pitched for the Boston Red Sox. Wow, oh wait, never mind. I looked at last year. I looked at last year's ERA, saw 3.81. I was like, wow, he got it down really quick, but no, it's still at 4.93. Not great, but the FIP's good, so he's having an unlucky season. But yes, thank you, Erod. We will miss you, but I think the time has come.
I think I'll miss you less if Scherzer is in a Red Sox uniform.
Well, yeah, obviously, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Stroman,
hopefully.
That's not terrible. Kershaw, LOL. I mean, I wouldn't mind that.
I like Stroman.
I think they should just go for. You go for Gosman. You go for Scherzer. You go for DeGrom. I think you go for Ohtani. I feel like you just get all of them.
Okay.
Get them all.
This will also determine on if what's his face if Chaim realizes he has money, and he probably does. He probably realizes he's in a different situation. But it's just, will he act on it and will he use that money? Hopefully he will. Hopefully John Henry doesn't dissuade him from using money, but who knows? That guy is a tool bag. So it could honestly hurt his chances of getting free agents here. I think that's it. I got nothing else. Final thoughts.
Statistic.
Okay.
Cool. The shortstop market going to be wild. Okay. This is kind of a fact/stat, fact first, stat second. Panthers, you might have heard this. Panthers linebacker Shaq Thompson played minor league baseball for the Boston Red Sox.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, when he was 18. In his career, he was even worse than me junior year of high school. 0 for 39 with 37 strikeouts.
Wow, that's really bad.
Yeah.
That's really, really bad.
Yeah. That beats my 0 for 9 with 7 strikeouts and a ground into a double play. Let's go.
Right away. All right. Final thoughts. I'll say it for Brian. Go Pats.
Go Bruins. Jake DeBrusk showed out.
First preseason game.
Yeah.
Brian's probably going to type his final thoughts. Go Sox. Go freaking Sox.
Yeah,
it
go
was
Sox.
Frustrating. It was go Eagles. Oh, BC Eagles. Brian, let's settle.
We gotta have that as a pick on Thursday.
Yeah, we will. Or maybe, I don't know.
We will. I'll
fine, we will. Good. But yeah, go Sox. I'm not counting them out. It was just frustrating. Yeah, that I have no words other than that. Go Sox. Not giving up on the ship. Yeah, that's my final thought. Thank you guys for listening. Go follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @the_Big4_podcast. We will see you most likely on Thursday with our picks and another episode. See you then. Peace.